How are things today?
Things are great today.
This is a quick stop in Toronto, I understand.
Yeah, very quick. I flew in from Los Angeles yesterday, then woke up today at 3 a.m. my time technically, and I'm off to London tonight.
Wow. And I mean, already the buzz about the show is pretty big. I mean, the series has a long-standing fan base. What does the new show bring, do you think, to that series?
Well, I mean, first of all, Primeval New World brings all new characters, but it also has the potential to bring in the original show's characters as well, and we do that in the pilot episode. We bring in Andrew Lee Potts, who plays Connor Temple,
right.
And he kind of does a handoff sort of thing with my character, Evan Cross, which is really cool because I think that the original Primeval fans will appreciate the fact that this isn't a remake. This is a spin-off, first of all, and now Andrew gets to basically say, okay, here, I'm going to give you this message, and let's see what you guys do with it. So all these new characters have to go through what the original characters had to go through, but in their own country.
And it's cool, speaking of that it's Canada, and it's unequivocally Vancouver.
Yeah, it's really nice to finally film in Canada and have it be Canada. And the fact that I'm filming in Vancouver and we're using Vancouver for Vancouver. We don't have to hide anything. In fact, what we get to do is showcase everything now, and it's really rare. And as a Canadian artist, I'm really proud to be on a show that showcases one of our most beautiful cities.
And it's interesting too to see, I think as myself watching it, that moment when you say Stanley Park, it's like, it's Stanley Park.
You can relate to it.
It's amazing.
It's immediately identifiable. We go up to the Britannia Mines, which anyone that has driven the Sea to Coast Highway and has went up to Squamish or Whistler, they know exactly where that is. And that building is just beautiful. The scope that you get from the main floor looking up, it just goes forever. You look up the side of this mountain and the mine, it just goes forever up in there.
And I mean, I think that's a big part of the show too, is the look is, it's natural. The point is that it's got to be that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that they did a really good job in using Vancouver as the city that they set the show in, because Vancouver is so natural. There is so much raw beauty around Vancouver, and you have places like the mines and these mine shafts that you can go into. But we also go to a location in New Westminster that's an old railroad car, basically graveyard for old railroad cars.
Wow.
And shooting in there, I remember watching some of the dailies and just thinking, like, it looked like one of the Sherlock Holmes features, because you have these really old rail cars and the characters are walking between them, and then the creatures are within those environments as well. Now, I haven't seen the creatures in that particular episode, but I hear they're phenomenal. And judging from the work that Mark Savala and his team have done in the first 2 episodes, I can say, like, the CGI in our show is
it's amazing.
It's incredible. It's amazing. Yeah.
Between the actual, like, the creature effects and everything, the environment effects, I mean, I think you guys have kind of nailed that look, and I even think you kind of one up the original in some aspects.
Well, we hope so. We hope so. That's what that's the whole reason to make a show, right? You don't want to
better and better.
Yeah, you don't want to make a show that doesn't meet the requirements of the predecessor. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you have a show that looks as good, and then improves upon that and gets better and better and better.
Cool.
So that's what I think original Primeval fans have to look forward to.
And do you have any other favorite things about making this show? I mean, you've already said quite a few things, but is there anything else that stands out for you?
One of the main reasons why I wanted to be involved with Primeval New World was I wanted to take my career to another level. I've never played an action hero. I've never had the chance to get to do stunts. Zane Donovan on Eureka would talk about it, but we never filmed it. We never saw it. As far as I'm concerned, he was a guy that was full of hot air. Evan Cross doesn't talk about it. He just does it. He's a man of action. So getting to play a character like that is just he's so quiet about that type of thing. He's capable of doing it, but he doesn't talk about it. It doesn't need to be the focus of his conversations. It's just something that he does. He just kicks into action, and he gets the job done. And playing a character like that is something that I really wanted to do. So getting to do my own stunts was one of my favorite things about filming Primeval, because our stunt coordinator, Marshall Virtue, he just trusted me with everything, and he just kind of we would go through the stunt together. We would talk about the physics of it, because I mean, stunt work is all about physics and timing.
Right.
And there's one particular stunt that you'll get to see later on in the year where if I didn't move at the time that I had to move at, I would have been crushed. And I'm the actual person in the actual footage.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that, you know, I'm sure as a stunt coordinator, he's sitting there biting his nails on the sidelines, but everything went without a hitch, and we got it in one take. And like, as an artist, and as an athlete, I get off on that rush. You know, it's very exciting. So that's one of my favorite things about working on this show.
It's a cool step forward that, you know, some actors never get a chance to do. I mean, do you always hope that you might be able to do something like this?
Absolutely. I mean, every actor, and I think every male actor or female actor hopes to get something where they get to be physical, and they're actually the ones that get to do it on camera. And, you know, finally this came across my plate. I've been fortunate enough to get to play a role like this.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, your story to me is amazingly interesting, that you went from working in an oil rig to acting within a few years.
Yeah, that's true. I like you said, I worked the oil rigs from the time I was 17 until 25. Right. Halfway through my 25th year, actually, and I had a really bad accident. That's what propelled me to leave the rigs.
Right.
You know, it was kind of an eye-opening moment, and I realized, you know, it's time to get back to chasing my dream.
Right.
It's now or never, because I almost had no more time. You know, and I realized that my mortality was brought into frame in a way that I never really understood before that. And then when that happened, you know, I put everything, all of my effort into acting, and I was rewarded very shortly after making that decision. But that accident had to happen in my life. Otherwise, it you know, this might have never came to be.
It is interesting too that, I mean, in a small way, your character shares a similar kind of backstory in a way that.
Yeah.
He was propelled into the same kind of action, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely, and even more so than people know. I mean, the real reason why I stayed working on the oil rigs was because it was my grandfather that took me out for my first shift ever, which was almost 3 months straight. And and shortly after that hitch with my grandfather, he passed away from cancer. And you know, I owe my life to him because he changed my life. My parents couldn't control me at home. They were either kicking me out or I was going to go work the rigs with my grandfather. Neither of which was a good option for me.
Wow.
But yeah, I worked the rigs with him, and he just changed me. He turned me into the man that I am today. And then losing him so quickly after that, it was a hard thing. So to honor him, I just kept on working in the oil field. And then, you know, making the parallel with Evan Cross. Evan loses his wife in the very first episode.
Yeah.
You know, so dealing with that loss, as an artist, I'm coming from a place where I know what it's like to deal with loss. I've dealt with a lot of loss in my life, with friends passing away or whatever, and you draw upon that stuff as an artist.
Right. And do you know, where do you draw that line though between the acting and the real you? Is that ever difficult?
When I'm acting, I'm using my imagination, and
Right.
but I have, even as a kid, I had such a powerful imagination. I think all artists, all actors, musicians, whatever, we all have really active imaginations, and I create a believable world in my head, and you know, I just believe that my character is my character, and when you fall into that, you know, it's not hard to tap into those feelings of loss that you've experienced in your real life, and use that as an art form as well. Now I'm not in scenes thinking about my grandfather. I'm in scenes thinking about or Evan's late wife. You know, when I'm Evan, I'm playing Evan, and you tap into that.
And where would you like to see Evan go with this series? Is there something you'd like to see him get into?
Yeah, I'd really like to see Evan find happiness again, because there's a void that's missing. You know, he has a void, and it has to be filled, and hopefully it is filled. I see potential for it to be filled. So
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.